Imagine for a moment a life where doubt no longer holds you back. A life where every goal feels possible, every challenge feels conquerable, and every single day you rise with the quiet confidence that you can become the person you've always hoped to be. Most people never experience that feeling, not because they lack talent, opportunity, or strength, but because no one ever taught them the simple, powerful truth that changes everything. You can. This audiobook is a journey into that truth. A journey into the parts of yourself you've overlooked, underestimated, or forgotten. A journey into potential that has been waiting, patiently, for permission to grow. As you listen, you will discover ideas that awaken confidence, build discipline, strengthen courage, deepen character, and open doors to a version of yourself you may not yet believe is possible. But stay with this book, and you will. What you're about to hear isn't just motivation. It's a blueprint for a stronger, wiser, more capable you. A blueprint that begins the moment you decide to listen with an open mind and ends with a life shaped by your own hands. If you're ready to change the way you think, act, and live, if you're ready to replace hesitation with action, fear with courage, and doubt with belief, then you are exactly where you need to be. And if you find this audiobook inspiring, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter on your journey of self-growth. Welcome to You Can. Let's begin. Chapter 1. You Can. There are two words that quietly shape the direction of a life. They are not loud. They are not complicated. They do not demand attention. Yet once they are truly believed, they change how a person thinks, acts, and endures. Those two words are you can. Every achievement, no matter how large or small, begins with a belief. Long before effort is applied, before skill is learned, before opportunity appears, the mind must accept the possibility of success. Without that acceptance, nothing meaningful moves forward. A person may have talent, resources, and favorable conditions, yet still remain stuck if they do not believe they can act, grow, or overcome. Belief is the unseen starting line of all progress. Many lives are quietly governed by the opposite belief. It may not be spoken aloud, but it is felt deeply. I can't. It shows itself in hesitation, in delay, in the habit of choosing comfort over challenge. It whispers reasons why something will not work, why now is not the right time, why someone else is better suited. Over time, this belief becomes familiar and safe, even though it slowly shrinks possibility. The tragedy is that most limitations are accepted long before they are proven. The words you can do not promise ease or guarantee success. They do something far more important. They give permission to try. They open the door to effort. They replace paralysis with movement. When a person believes they can, they stop waiting for certainty and begin acting with purpose. They accept that mistakes are not signs of failure, but steps toward understanding. Belief shapes behavior in subtle but powerful ways. When people believe in their ability, they approach problems differently. They look for solutions instead of excuses. They stay engaged longer. They recover more quickly after disappointment. When belief is absent, even small obstacles feel overwhelming. The mind, already convinced of defeat, sees every difficulty as confirmation that trying was a mistake. This chapter is not about ignoring reality or pretending challenges do not exist. It is about recognizing that belief determines how reality is faced. Two people can encounter the same difficulty, yet respond in entirely different ways. One retreats, convinced the obstacle is too great. The other advances, not because the path is easy, but because they believe progress is possible. The difference lies not in circumstance, but in conviction. Responsibility plays a central role in the belief of you can. Life is not always fair, and no one controls every outcome. Yet everyone controls their response. When people believe they can, they accept ownership of their choices. They stop blaming conditions, timing, or other people for their stagnation. This shift restores personal power. Responsibility is not a burden, it is a source of strength, because it places the ability to change back into one's own hands. Setbacks are inevitable. Failure, delay, and disappointment are part of every meaningful pursuit. The belief of you can does not eliminate these experiences, but it changes their meaning. Instead of seeing failure as proof of inability, it becomes feedback. Instead of viewing setbacks as reasons to quit, they become reasons to adjust and continue. Belief transforms adversity from an ending into a lesson. Another quiet truth explored in this chapter is the influence of belief on endurance. Success rarely comes from a single effort. It is built through consistency over time. Belief sustains effort when enthusiasm fades. It keeps a person moving forward when results are slow or invisible. Without belief, persistence feels pointless. With belief, even small progress feels worthwhile. Belief is also contagious. People are drawn to those who trust themselves enough to act. Confidence invites opportunity, not because it is loud, but because it signals reliability. Those who believe they can are more likely to be entrusted with responsibility, supported by others, and given chances to grow. Doubt, on the other hand, repels opportunity by signaling hesitation and fear. This chapter invites reflection on the inner dialogue that shapes belief. The mind is constantly speaking, narrating experience, interpreting events, assigning meaning. Repeated thoughts become accepted truths. When a person repeatedly tells themselves they cannot, the mind obeys by avoiding effort. When a person chooses to say you can, even in uncertainty, the mind begins to cooperate with growth. Belief does not require proof before action. Waiting for proof often means waiting forever. Proof comes after effort, not before it. Those who insist on certainty deny themselves experience, and without experience, belief never has the chance to grow. The willingness to act without guarantees is one of the clearest expressions of belief. The chapter closes with a simple reminder. Every person, regardless of background or circumstance, holds the power to choose their belief. The words "you can" are not a slogan or a comfort. They are a challenge. They demand responsibility, effort, and courage. When accepted, they become a quiet force that guides decisions, strengthens endurance, and turns possibility into reality. The journey of growth begins here, with a belief that opens the door and says, simply and firmly, "You can." Chapter 2. Self-Belief and Confidence. Belief begins the journey, but confidence is what allows it to continue. Where belief says you can, confidence says I will try. This chapter explores how confidence is built, not through perfection or certainty, but through steady action and self-trust developed over time. Confidence is not a gift given at birth. It is a skill formed through experience. Many people misunderstand confidence, believing it must come before action. They wait to feel ready, capable, or fearless before taking a step forward. In reality, confidence grows in the opposite direction. It is the result of action, not the cause of it. Each time a person acts despite uncertainty, they strengthen their trust in themselves. Each effort, no matter how small, becomes evidence that they are capable of learning and adapting. Self-belief is fragile when it relies only on hope or desire. Confidence gives belief weight by grounding it in experience. When a person follows through on a decision, completes a task, or accepts responsibility, they prove something important to themselves. Over time, these small proofs accumulate into a deep sense of self-reliance. Confidence, then, is not a feeling, but a record of kept promises to oneself. Fear is one of the greatest barriers to confidence, yet it is also unavoidable. This chapter does not suggest eliminating fear, because fear often signals growth. Instead, it teaches that confidence develops when fear is acknowledged but not obeyed. Acting in the presence of fear is what weakens its control. Each time fear is faced rather than avoided, it loses a measure of its power. Self-doubt often speaks louder than reason. It reminds people of past mistakes, magnifies weaknesses, and predicts failure with convincing detail. Left unchecked, it quietly shapes behavior, encouraging hesitation and retreat. This chapter emphasizes the importance of challenging these internal messages. Confidence grows when doubt is replaced with effort, when action interrupts overthinking, and when progress is valued more than perfection. True confidence is calm and steady. It does not need to announce itself or compare itself to others. It is rooted in the understanding that growth is possible and mistakes are temporary. A confident person does not expect immediate success, but they expect improvement. This expectation keeps effort alive even when results are slow. Responsibility is a powerful builder of confidence. Avoiding responsibility may feel safe, but it weakens self-trust over time. Accepting responsibility, even when uncomfortable, strengthens the belief that one can handle life's demands. Each fulfilled responsibility becomes another layer of confidence, reinforcing the knowledge that challenges can be met and managed. Comparison is another silent enemy of confidence. Measuring oneself against others creates discouragement or false pride, neither of which supports growth. This chapter encourages focusing on personal progress rather than external standards. Confidence develops when attention is placed on effort, learning, and consistency rather than ranking and approval. Effort is the companion of confidence. Talent may open a door, but effort determines how far one goes. Those who rely solely on natural ability often stop when things become difficult, while those who trust effort continue. Confidence grows in those who persist, because persistence itself becomes proof of strength. The chapter concludes with a reminder that confidence must be practiced daily. It is strengthened through action, honesty, and discipline. Each choice to try, to continue, and to take responsibility adds to a growing foundation of self-belief. Confidence is not about feeling certain. It is about trusting oneself enough to move forward anyway. When this trust is cultivated, belief becomes stable, effort becomes natural, and growth becomes inevitable. Chapter 3: Initiative and Action. Belief and confidence find their true meaning only when they are expressed through action. This chapter moves from the inner world of thought into the outer world of effort, where ideas are tested and intentions become reality. Initiative is the moment when a person stops waiting and starts doing. Without it, even the strongest belief remains unused, and even the deepest confidence slowly fades. Many people live with good intentions. They plan, they think, they prepare, and they imagine what they might one day accomplish. Yet intention alone changes nothing. Action is the bridge between possibility and progress. This chapter reminds us that life does not reward potential, it responds to movement. The moment a person takes initiative, they step into growth. One of the greatest obstacles to action is the desire for perfect conditions. People wait for the right time, the right mood, the right amount of knowledge, or the right guarantee of success. This waiting often feels responsible, but it quietly becomes an excuse for inaction. The truth is that conditions are rarely perfect, and certainty is almost never complete. Progress belongs to those who act while conditions are imperfect, and understanding is incomplete. Initiative does not require bold or dramatic moves. It often begins with small decisions, starting a task without being reminded, making a phone call that has been postponed, practicing a skill for a few minutes instead of not at all. These small actions matter because they break the habit of delay. Once movement begins, resistance weakens, and effort becomes easier to sustain. Fear plays a powerful role in preventing action. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of wasting effort. All of these can keep a person frozen. This chapter does not deny fear, but it challenges its authority. Fear loses strength when it is faced. Each time a person acts despite fear, they prove to themselves that fear is not in control. Action trains courage, not the other way around. Mistakes are an unavoidable part of initiative. No one acts perfectly, especially at the beginning. Those who take initiative accept this reality. They understand that errors are not signs of incompetence, but signs of participation. Learning happens in motion, not in waiting. The person who acts gains experience, while the person who hesitates gains only theories. This chapter emphasizes that initiative builds momentum. Action creates energy. When a person starts, they often discover motivation they did not feel beforehand. In contrast, waiting for motivation often leads nowhere. Momentum grows as effort continues, making tasks feel lighter and challenges more manageable. Even small progress creates encouragement to continue. Responsibility and initiative are closely connected. When people take initiative, they accept ownership of outcomes. This responsibility strengthens character and self-respect. Avoiding initiative may reduce short-term stress, but it weakens confidence over time. Taking initiative, even when uncomfortable, builds inner strength and reliability. The chapter also warns against confusing busyness with meaningful action. Not all activity leads to progress. Initiative works best when effort is directed with purpose. Acting blindly without reflection can exhaust energy without producing results. The balance lies in acting, learning from results, and adjusting course. Action followed by reflection leads to improvement. Opportunity is another theme closely tied to initiative. Opportunities rarely appear to those who wait passively. They emerge for those who are already engaged, already trying, already visible through their effort. Action attracts opportunity because it signals readiness. Even when action does not immediately succeed, it places a person in the path of learning and connection. George Matthew Adams emphasizes that initiative is a habit, not a personality trait. Some people appear naturally proactive, but in reality, they have simply practiced acting instead of waiting. Like any habit, initiative grows stronger with use. Each time a person chooses action over delay, they make it easier to act again in the future. This chapter also addresses the quiet cost of inaction. Delayed effort leads to regret, missed chances, and a growing sense of dissatisfaction. Over time, people often regret what they did not try more than what they attempted and failed at. Initiative protects against this regret by keeping life active and engaged. Action also sharpens clarity. Many people wait to act until they fully understand, but understanding often comes through doing. Action reveals strengths, exposes weaknesses, and clarifies direction. The path forward becomes clearer once a person begins walking it. The chapter closes with a firm reminder. Beginnings matter more than intentions. No one improves without starting. No goal is reached without effort. Initiative transforms belief into experience and confidence into growth. As Adams reminds the reader, the world responds not to what we plan to do, but to what we actually do. When action becomes a habit, progress becomes inevitable, and life begins to move in the direction chosen rather than imagined. Chapter 4: Persistence and Determination. Every meaningful effort encounters resistance. Progress rarely moves in a straight line, and success is almost never immediate. This section focuses on the power of persistence, the ability to continue when results are slow, effort feels heavy, and doubt begins to return. Determination is not about dramatic bursts of motivation. It is about staying with a task long enough for progress to take root. Many people begin with enthusiasm, but stop when difficulty appears. Early excitement fades quickly when work becomes repetitive or challenging. Persistence is what separates those who make steady progress from those who abandon their goals. It is the quiet decision to continue even when there is no immediate reward. Growth depends less on intensity and more on consistency. Setbacks are not signs that effort is wasted. They are part of the process. Each obstacle tests commitment and reveals areas that require adjustment. Those who persist view setbacks as information rather than defeat. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" they ask, "What can this teach me?" This shift in thinking keeps effort alive. Determination strengthens through repeated effort. Each time a person chooses to continue rather than quit, they reinforce their ability to endure. Over time, persistence becomes a habit. What once felt difficult becomes familiar, and challenges that once seemed overwhelming lose their power. Endurance grows quietly through repeated choice. Failure often feels final only when effort stops. Many successes arrive just beyond the point where most people give up. Persistence carries a person through moments of uncertainty, when progress is invisible but still unfolding. Trusting the process requires patience and faith in gradual improvement. This section also highlights the importance of daily effort. Grand plans mean little without small, repeated actions. Progress is built through routine commitment, showing up, trying again, and refusing to abandon the path. Even limited effort, applied consistently, produces greater results than intense effort applied briefly. Determination does not mean stubbornly repeating the same mistakes. Persistence works best when paired with reflection. Adjusting approach while maintaining commitment allows growth without exhaustion. The goal is not blind endurance, but steady, thoughtful continuation. Discouragement is a natural part of long effort. Fatigue, doubt, and frustration visit everyone who works towards something meaningful. Determination does not deny these feelings. It moves forward despite them. Continuing in the presence of discouragement builds inner strength and self-respect. Another quiet truth explored here is that persistence builds confidence. Each day of continued effort becomes proof of capability. Over time, the knowledge that one can endure difficulty becomes a source of strength in itself. Persistence transforms effort into identity. This section closes with a simple reminder: progress belongs to those who stay. Talent may start the journey, an initiative may begin it, but persistence completes it. When determination becomes stronger than discouragement, effort outlasts difficulty, and goals that once seemed distant gradually move within reach. Chapter 5: Work and Discipline. Progress is impossible without work, and meaningful work is impossible without discipline. These two forces shape achievement far more reliably than talent or luck. While belief, initiative, and persistence prepare the mind for growth, work and discipline turn intention into consistent action. In this section, the focus is on the steady, practical effort that supports every meaningful success. Work is often misunderstood. Many imagine it as something burdensome or unpleasant. Yet work is the process through which human potential becomes real. It is the act of shaping ideas into form, turning effort into skill, and creating something that did not exist before. True work is less about struggle and more about engagement, putting oneself into a task with sincerity and commitment. Discipline is the structure that makes work effective. Without discipline, effort is scattered and inconsistent. People may work hard for a day or a week, but without stability, their progress rises and falls dramatically. Discipline is the ability to continue working even when motivation fades. It is the quiet promise one makes to oneself: I will show up, even when it is difficult. Routine plays a central role in discipline. When work becomes a habit rather than a decision, it demands less emotional energy. The mind no longer negotiates with itself each day about whether to make progress. It simply does what must be done. This steady rhythm of effort allows skills to deepen, understanding to grow, and goals to move closer. One of the greatest challenges in disciplined work is dealing with distractions. The world offers countless ways to avoid focused effort: comfort, entertainment, worry, and even the illusion of productivity. This chapter reminds us that discipline requires choosing long-term benefit over short-term relief. It means recognizing when distraction is pulling attention away from what truly matters and returning to the task with intention. Hard work does not mean rushed work. Effective effort requires presence and care. When people rush, they often repeat mistakes, overlook details, and create additional work for themselves. Discipline encourages a steady pace, one that respects the importance of quality as much as quantity. It is better to work consistently and well than quickly and inconsistently. There will always be tasks that feel uninspiring or tedious, yet these tasks often support the very results people desire. Discipline teaches that work does not need to be enjoyable to be valuable. Showing up for unglamorous tasks builds endurance and character. It strengthens the ability to follow through, even when the reward is not immediate. This section also emphasizes that disciplined work brings clarity. When a person regularly puts effort into something, they begin to understand it more deeply. What once seemed confusing or overwhelming gradually becomes manageable. Work turns uncertainty into familiarity. It replaces guesswork with experience and hesitation with confidence. Work and discipline also create independence. People who rely solely on motivation or inspiration remain trapped by their moods. But those who develop discipline can move forward regardless of how they feel in the moment. They gain freedom from the unpredictable rise and fall of emotion because they have built a system strong enough to carry them forward. A key insight explored here is the relationship between discipline and self-respect. When individuals keep their commitments to their goals, their growth, and their effort, they build trust in themselves. Self-respect grows each time they honor their responsibilities. This internal respect becomes fuel for future effort, making discipline not only a tool for progress, but also a source of personal strength. Work is also a powerful teacher. It reveals strengths, exposes weaknesses, and provides immediate feedback. Those who work consistently learn far more than those who spend their time planning or worrying. Work brings answers that thinking alone cannot provide. Over time, this learning compounds, creating mastery that cannot be gained in any other way. Another important reminder is that work and discipline do not eliminate struggle, they manage it. There will be days when progress feels slow, when fatigue sets in, or when nothing seems to go right. Discipline concerns itself less with how a person feels on any given day and more with the commitment to keep moving forward. Even small steps taken consistently carry tremendous power. The section concludes with a truth that anchors the entire message. The results people admire are built through quiet, steady effort. Great achievements are rarely the product of sudden bursts of inspiration. They are formed in the hours when no one is watching, by those who choose to work, learn, and continue. Discipline sustains the journey long after excitement fades. When work becomes a habit and discipline becomes a companion, progress becomes inevitable, and success becomes not a distant dream, but a natural outcome of who one has chosen to become. Chapter 6: Attitude and Mental Habits. The direction of a life is shaped first in the mind. Long before choices are made or actions are taken, a person's attitude determines how they interpret challenges, opportunities, and daily experiences. Attitude is not simply mood. It is the lens through which the world is viewed. When that lens is clear and constructive, progress feels possible. When it is clouded with negativity, even simple tasks feel heavy. A healthy attitude begins with the understanding that thoughts matter. They influence energy, focus, and the willingness to continue when circumstances become difficult. Positive thinking is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about choosing interpretations that strengthen rather than weaken. When faced with a problem, a constructive attitude asks, "How can I grow from this?" rather than, "Why is this happening to me?" Mental habits develop through repetition. The thoughts entertained most often become the thoughts the mind returns to automatically. If someone repeatedly focuses on obstacles, their mind becomes skilled at finding limitations. If they focus on possibilities, their mind becomes skilled at finding solutions. The patterns one strengthens internally eventually shape the outcomes experienced externally. Negativity has a deceptive appeal. It requires no effort, and it often feels justified. When things go wrong, it is easy to assume the worst or to believe progress is impossible. But negativity drains motivation, reduces creativity, and shortens persistence. It convinces people to stop trying just when their effort is needed most. Guarding the mind against destructive thoughts is not a luxury. It is essential for progress. Optimism, on the other hand, is a practical tool. It does not ignore difficulty but approaches it with the belief that improvement is achievable. A person with a strong attitude understands that setbacks are temporary and that effort can influence results. This mindset keeps energy alive and supports action when discouragement threatens to take over. Another important mental habit is gratitude. When individuals focus only on what is missing, they overlook what is already working. Gratitude helps maintain balance. It reminds the mind that not everything is broken and that progress is already underway in many areas. This balanced perspective strengthens resilience and prevents frustration from becoming overwhelming. Self-talk plays a powerful role in shaping attitude. The inner voice can become a motivator or a critic, depending on the habits a person develops. Encouraging self-talk builds strength, while harsh or hopeless language erodes confidence. Speaking to oneself with clarity, patience, and honesty helps create the internal environment needed for progress. Attitude also influences relationships. People are naturally drawn to those who bring energy, optimism, and calm into a situation. A positive attitude invites collaboration and support. A negative one creates tension and distance. The way a person thinks not only shapes their own experience, but also affects how others respond to them. Mental habits determine how challenges are interpreted. A constructive attitude sees obstacles as part of the journey, not as reasons to abandon it. It expects difficulty and meets it with preparation rather than fear. This approach does not make challenges disappear, but it prevents them from becoming larger than they truly are. Flexibility is another key element of a strong attitude. Life rarely unfolds exactly as planned. The ability to adjust, rethink, and adapt allows progress to continue even when circumstances shift. A rigid mindset breaks under pressure, but a flexible one bends and then continues forward. Reflection supports healthier mental habits. Taking time to notice thought patterns allows a person to correct what is unhelpful and reinforce what is constructive. Without reflection, negative habits can take root unnoticed. With awareness, the mind becomes a tool instead of an obstacle. A strong attitude does not depend on constant cheerfulness. It depends on consistency. It is built through daily choices, to remain hopeful, to act responsibly, to think clearly, and to focus on growth rather than defeat. These choices gradually form mental habits that support effort, persistence, and resilience. In the end, attitude determines how a person experiences their own potential. The mind can be a companion or a barrier. By cultivating constructive thoughts and strong mental habits, individuals give themselves the best chance to recognize opportunities, overcome setbacks, and shape a life that reflects their true capabilities. When the mind becomes an ally, progress becomes not only possible, but natural. Chapter 7. Courage and Overcoming Fear. Fear is a natural part of life. It visits everyone, regardless of strength, talent, or experience. Yet it remains one of the most powerful forces that can hold a person back from their own potential. This chapter explores courage not as the absence of fear, but as the willingness to act while fear is present. Courage is quiet, practical, and deeply personal. It is built through choice, strengthened through repetition, and expressed through action. Fear often arrives disguised as caution. It whispers that the moment is not right, that failure will be embarrassing, that others will judge, or that the chances of success are too small to justify the effort. These thoughts can feel reasonable, even protective, but when examined closely, they often reveal themselves as barriers created by the mind. Fear tries to keep a person safe, but in doing so, it can also keep them small. The first step in overcoming fear is acknowledging it honestly. Denying fear gives it more power. Admitting it allows movement. When a person recognizes, yes, I am afraid, but I can still act, fear begins to lose its grip. Courage is not about being fearless. It is about refusing to let fear determine the direction of a life. George Matthew Adams often reminded readers that courage grows through use. No one becomes courageous by thinking about bravery. They become courageous by acting in moments when action feels difficult. Every time a person chooses to speak up, to try something new, or to continue despite doubt, they strengthen their inner resilience. Courage is formed not in extraordinary moments, but in ordinary decisions repeated over time. Fear thrives in the unknown. The more uncertain something feels, the larger fear becomes. Yet the unknown becomes familiar only through experience. One of the fastest ways to reduce fear is simply to begin. When a person takes even a small step, the mind shifts from imagining possibilities to engaging with reality. Reality is almost always less frightening than imagination, which tends to exaggerate everything. Another powerful tool against fear is preparation. While fear cannot be eliminated entirely, preparation reduces the anxiety that comes from feeling unready. Learning, practicing, and planning create confidence. Preparing does not guarantee success, but it strengthens the belief that success is possible. Preparation tells the mind, I may not know everything, but I know enough to start. Courage also requires patience. Fear rarely dissolves instantly. It fades gradually as a person proves to themselves, through repeated action, that they can handle discomfort. In the beginning, facing fear may feel exhausting. Over time, it becomes easier. Eventually, fear loses its power, not because it disappears, but because the person has outgrown it. This chapter also explores the role of perspective. Fear often causes people to focus on what might go wrong. Courage shifts attention to what might go right. It asks different questions. What if this works? What might I learn? How might I grow? These questions do not erase danger, but they create balance. They remind the mind that success is just as possible as failure. It is important to recognize that fear speaks through the stories people tell themselves. These stories may come from past experiences, criticism from others, or personal insecurities. Some stories say, "You're not ready," "You're not capable," or "You will fail." These messages, repeated often enough, feel like facts. Courage requires challenging these internal narratives. It asks the mind to replace limiting stories with truthful ones. I can learn. I can try. I can improve. Support from others can also strengthen courage. While the journey is ultimately personal, encouragement from mentors, friends, or loved ones can help quiet fear. Sometimes hearing someone else say, "You can do this," provides enough strength to attempt what once felt impossible. Courage multiplies when shared. Yet courage must never become recklessness. True bravery is thoughtful. It measures risk, considers consequences, and acts with purpose. Recklessness ignores danger entirely. Courage acknowledges danger and proceeds wisely. The goal is not to eliminate caution, but to prevent caution from turning into paralysis. One of the most liberating truths about courage is that it transforms self-perception. Each time a person acts despite fear, they begin to see themselves differently. They discover inner strength they did not know they had. They gain respect for their own resilience. This new identity makes future acts of courage easier. Overcoming one fear often unlocks the willingness to face others. Fear also loses power when its purpose is understood. Fear is a signal, not a command. It signals that something matters, that growth is possible, and that the outcome is uncertain. Rather than running from fear, individuals can use it as a guide, directing them toward areas of potential expansion. If a goal does not create at least a small amount of fear, it may not be challenging enough to inspire growth. Another key idea in this chapter is that courage must sometimes be gentle. There are days when strength looks like taking a bold step forward, and days when strength looks like taking a small step, or even simply refusing to retreat. Progress is not always dramatic. Sometimes courage means staying patient, staying committed, and staying hopeful even when the path is unclear. Courage also plays a crucial role in relationships. It allows people to speak honestly, apologize sincerely, forgive openly, and express affection without fear of rejection. These acts of emotional bravery create deeper connections and stronger trust. Many relationships weaken not from lack of love, but from lack of courage. This chapter closes with a reminder that everyone possesses courage, even if they do not feel it. Courage does not come from extraordinary ability. It comes from the choice to act, the choice to try again, the choice to move forward even when uncertainty remains. Fear may accompany every stage of growth, but it does not have to decide the outcome. When a person learns to act in its presence, fear becomes a signal rather than a barrier, and life expands into all the spaces it once tried to prevent. Chapter 8: Character and Integrity. A strong life is built not only on talent, effort, or ambition, but on character. Character is the inner foundation that supports every choice, every action, and every relationship. It determines how a person behaves when no one is watching, how they respond when things go wrong, and how they treat others when there is nothing to gain. Integrity is the core of this foundation, an unwavering commitment to honesty, responsibility, and moral strength. Character is not formed in a single moment. It develops slowly, shaped by countless decisions repeated over time. Every choice either strengthens or weakens it. When a person tells the truth, even when it is uncomfortable, character grows. When they keep a promise, even when it becomes inconvenient, integrity deepens. When they refuse shortcuts and stand firm in their values, they cultivate inner stability. These habits build a reputation others can trust and a self-respect that cannot be easily shaken. Integrity creates clarity. Life becomes simpler when honesty is the rule, not an option. Deception, even small deception, creates confusion, first in others, then in oneself. It breeds worry, excuses, and a constant need to remember which version of the truth has been told. Honesty, by contrast, keeps the path straight. It removes the burden of pretense and allows relationships to grow on solid ground. Character also demands responsibility. This means accepting the consequences of one's actions rather than hiding behind excuses or shifting blame. People who take responsibility gain control over their lives because they recognize that change begins within. Blame weakens. Responsibility strengthens. Responsibility may feel heavy at times, but it is the weight that builds the muscles of maturity and independence. Trust is the greatest reward of strong character. When others know they can rely on someone's word, doors open, opportunities appear, relationships deepen, and respect is earned naturally. Trust cannot be demanded. It must be demonstrated through consistent behavior. A single act of integrity may be admirable, but a life of integrity becomes influential. Kindness is another expression of character. It is often mistaken for softness, but real kindness requires strength. It means treating others fairly, speaking with respect, and offering support where possible. It means resisting the urge to criticize, belittle, or judge. Kindness does not mean allowing others to take advantage, but it means carrying oneself with humanity, even under stress. Kindness strengthens both the giver and the receiver. A person's character is tested most during adversity. When life becomes difficult, values are challenged. It is easier to be honest when the truth has no cost, easier to be patient when nothing is pressing, easier to be kind when everyone is kind in return. True character appears when situations are stressful, uncertain, or unfair. These moments reveal whether values are genuine or merely convenient. They show whether a person stands on principle or bends to pressure. Self-discipline is another trait closely tied to character. It allows a person to act according to values rather than impulses. Without discipline, even good intentions fall apart. With discipline, a person stays aligned with what matters most. Discipline guides choices, protects commitments, and supports long-term goals. It keeps character strong when emotions fluctuate or motivation fades. Character also requires humility. Humility is not weakness or lack of confidence. It is the understanding that everyone has something to learn. It keeps ambition grounded and allows growth to continue. Humility opens the door to feedback, encourages collaboration, and prevents arrogance from blinding judgment. A humble person remains open to improvement without diminishing their own worth. Another important element of character is consistency. People respect those whose behavior matches their values, not occasionally, but regularly. Consistency builds reliability. It tells others that they can expect steadiness, honesty, and fairness regardless of the situation. Inconsistency, even when unintentional, creates uncertainty. Consistency builds trust. Forgiveness is also a sign of strong character, both forgiving others and forgiving oneself. Holding grudges drains energy and clouds judgment. Forgiveness does not excuse hurtful actions, but it frees the person holding the pain. Likewise, forgiving oneself for past mistakes allows healing and renewal. No one grows without error. Character acknowledges the mistake, learns the lesson, and moves forward. The way a person handles power reveals their true nature. Some become careless or demanding when given authority, while others become more responsible, more thoughtful, and more committed to fairness. Character ensures that power is used not to dominate but to improve, not to elevate oneself, but to support the task and the people involved. In daily life, character softens challenges and strengthens opportunities. It builds trust in families, in friendships, in workplaces, and in communities. It makes cooperation possible, reduces conflict, and creates an atmosphere where growth can flourish. People instinctively gravitate toward those who carry themselves with integrity because such individuals bring stability into an unstable world. At the center of all these qualities is one truth: character is a choice. A person cannot always choose their circumstances, but they can choose their actions, their words, and their principles. They can choose honesty over deception, responsibility over excuse, kindness over cruelty, humility over pride. With each choice, character becomes clearer and stronger. As this chapter comes to a close, the message stands firm. Character shapes destiny. Talent may shine for a moment, but character endures. It supports success, protects relationships, and guides decisions. When character is strong, a person walks through life with clarity, confidence, and respect from others and from themselves. Chapter 9. Helping Others and Service. A fulfilling life is not built by effort alone, but by the impact one has on others. Helping others is more than a kind gesture. It is a powerful force that enriches both the giver and the receiver. When people choose to contribute, support, or uplift someone else, they strengthen their own sense of purpose. Service deepens character, expands perspective, and creates connections that cannot be formed through self-interest alone. True service begins with awareness. Many opportunities to help are small and easy to overlook. Offering encouragement, giving time, listening patiently, or sharing a skill. These simple acts carry great weight because they acknowledge the humanity of others. People thrive when they feel seen, valued, and supported, and often a single sincere act can change the course of someone's day, or even their life. Helping others also teaches humility. It reminds us that no one succeeds alone, and no one is meant to. Every person has moments of strength and moments of weakness. Recognizing this truth builds compassion. Instead of judging someone for struggling, service invites understanding and a willingness to stand beside them. This humility strengthens relationships and creates an environment where kindness can grow. Service does not always require extraordinary resources. It is rarely about grand gestures. Most of the time, the most meaningful help is simple: being dependable, being honest, being present when someone needs support. These acts signal, you are not alone. They create trust and foster connections that become a source of strength during difficult times. Giving also expands perspective. When people focus only on their own concerns, problems feel larger than they are. But when they step outside themselves and notice the needs of others, their view widens. Service reveals that everyone carries burdens, and that compassion can lighten them. This expanded perspective reduces self-centered worry and replaces it with gratitude and balance. Another important truth explored here is that helping others strengthens one's own abilities. Teaching a skill deepens the teacher's understanding. Supporting someone through a challenge strengthens patience and empathy. Taking responsibility in service of others improves leadership. Helping others is not a one-way exchange. It develops personal qualities that might otherwise remain dormant. Leadership is rooted in service. Great leaders are not defined by authority, but by their willingness to elevate those around them. They listen, encourage, guide, and share credit. Their strength comes not from controlling others, but from empowering them. When people feel supported, they grow, and when they grow, the entire group or community becomes stronger. Service also builds resilience. When individuals commit themselves to supporting others, they often discover courage and strength they did not know they possessed. Helping someone else can revive one's own motivation, even during personal struggle. In lifting others, a person often finds themselves lifted as well. Generosity has a quiet but lasting return. It creates goodwill, deepens relationships, and often comes back in unexpected ways. When life becomes difficult, the kindness a person has given often surrounds them through the support of those they once helped. While generosity should never be offered with expectation, it naturally builds a community of mutual care. A powerful insight in this chapter is the idea that service brings meaning. Achievements, possessions, and recognition may satisfy temporarily, but they rarely fulfill deeply. Fulfillment grows from knowing that one's life made a difference, that someone is stronger, safer, or more hopeful because of something you did. This sense of impact nourishes the heart and gives purpose to effort. Service also requires boundaries. Helping others should uplift, not overwhelm. True service is not self-sacrifice to the point of exhaustion. It is balanced, giving what is healthy to give while still honoring one's own needs and responsibilities. When service is balanced, it becomes sustainable and strengthens both sides. Another essential theme is respect. Service should never diminish or pity others. Instead, it should honor their dignity. The goal is not to make someone dependent, but to support their ability to stand on their own. Respectful service builds confidence and empowers growth. Even when unseen, acts of service matter. Many of the most meaningful contributions are never publicly acknowledged, yet they form the quiet structure of a compassionate world. A kind word, a small favor, a moment of understanding. These are the threads that weave community together. This chapter concludes with a gentle truth. Life becomes richer when shared. Helping others does not take away from one's own progress, it enhances it. The energy given returns in the form of gratitude, strength, and purpose. A life lived in service is a life lived fully, because it reaches beyond the self and touches the hearts of others. When service becomes a part of one's character, the world becomes a better place. And so does the person who chooses to serve. Chapter 10. Personal Growth and Lifelong Learning. Growth is not something that happens once. It is something that continues for as long as a person lives. The moment someone decides they have learned enough or grown enough, they begin to limit their own potential. Personal growth is a lifelong journey, shaped by curiosity, humility, and the willingness to evolve. This chapter explores how continuous learning enriches character, strengthens ability, and keeps life vibrant and meaningful. Learning begins with curiosity, the desire to understand, to explore, and to discover. Curiosity keeps the mind open. It invites questions instead of assumptions and welcomes new ideas instead of resisting them. A curious person does not fear the unknown, they pursue it. They recognize that every new skill, experience, or perspective adds depth to their life and expands their possibilities. Humility is the companion of learning. It allows a person to admit what they do not know and to seek guidance when necessary. Those who believe they already have all the answers close the door to improvement. Humility keeps that door open. It encourages listening, observing, and learning from others, regardless of their status, background, or age. Everyone has something to teach if one is willing to learn. Personal growth thrives in environments where effort is valued more than perfection. When individuals allow themselves to make mistakes and learn from them, growth accelerates. Errors are not signs of failure, they are signs of engagement. They indicate that a person is pushing into new territory rather than remaining safely within old patterns. With every mistake comes a lesson, and with every lesson comes progress. In a rapidly changing world, flexibility is essential. New ideas, tools, and challenges appear constantly. Those who cling rigidly to old habits often struggle, while those who adapt remain strong. Flexibility does not mean abandoning principles, it means adjusting methods. It is the ability to pivot when necessary, to think creatively, and to embrace change instead of fearing it. You are also shaped by the people you surround yourself with. Relationships can either encourage or discourage growth. Being near those who are curious, ambitious, and open-minded inspires similar qualities. Conversations become richer, ideas expand, and motivation increases. Conversely, environments filled with negativity or complacency can slowly drain enthusiasm. Choosing one's company wisely is an important part of personal development. Reading, observing life, listening deeply, and reflecting are all forms of learning. Books offer wisdom from minds across history. Observation provides lessons drawn directly from experience. Listening to others reveals perspectives that may never have occurred otherwise. Reflection ties everything together, helping the mind organize experiences and transform them into insight. These practices, repeated over time, create a strong foundation for continuous growth. Goals play an important role in learning. Clear goals provide direction. They give purpose to effort and help measure progress. But goals should not be rigid. As a person learns and grows, goals naturally evolve. What once seemed important may change as new understanding develops. Adaptable goals allow growth to unfold naturally rather than forcing life into a fixed shape. Continuous improvement requires consistency. Small, repeated efforts are more powerful than occasional bursts of intense learning. 10 minutes of daily practice teaches more over time than one day of effort followed by a week of inaction. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum makes growth feel natural instead of forced. Personal growth also involves introspection, the willingness to look inward honestly. This means acknowledging strengths and weaknesses, identifying patterns that help or hinder progress, and being open to personal transformation. Honest introspection can be uncomfortable, but it is a powerful catalyst for change. It reveals where growth is most needed and where effort will be most effective. Another important aspect is emotional growth. Understanding emotions, managing reactions, and developing empathy strengthen both relationships and decision-making. Emotional maturity allows a person to handle stress, conflict, and disappointment with greater wisdom. It supports patience, kindness, and resilience, all essential qualities for a purposeful life. As people grow, they naturally develop a deeper sense of meaning. They begin to see not only what they want to accomplish, but why they want to accomplish it. This sense of purpose gives direction to learning and strength to effort. It transforms growth from a task into a fulfilling pursuit. Personal growth expands independence. When individuals are committed to learning, they rely less on external validation and more on internal strength. They gain confidence from their own development. They trust their ability to adapt, solve problems, and create opportunities. Lifelong learning builds not only skill, but self-reliance. This chapter ends with a powerful truth. Growth is a choice available to everyone. No matter age, background, or circumstance, there is always more to discover about the world, about others, and about oneself. By remaining curious, open, and committed to improvement, individuals keep life fresh and full of possibility. Lifelong learning is not just a path to knowledge. It is a path to becoming the strongest, most capable version of oneself. Chapter 11. Defining success on your own terms. Success is a word that carries many meanings, yet few people stop to question whether the meaning they live by is truly their own. Society offers countless definitions: wealth, status, appearance, recognition, but none of these guarantee fulfillment. Real success is deeply personal. It is shaped by values, guided by purpose, and measured by the quiet satisfaction that comes from living in alignment with one's true self. This chapter explores how authentic success is discovered, built, and sustained. The first step in defining success is recognizing that it cannot be borrowed. What fulfills one person may leave another empty. Some people thrive in leadership, others in creativity, others in service or craftsmanship. Success must reflect the individual, not the expectations of others. When someone tries to live another person's version of success, they often achieve less and feel less, because the journey does not resonate with who they truly are. True success begins with clarity. A person must ask themselves honest questions. What matters to me? What kind of life do I want? What values do I refuse to compromise? What brings meaning, not just comfort? These questions create a foundation. Without clarity, effort is scattered and comparison becomes constant. With clarity, the noise fades and choices become intentional. Comparison is one of the greatest enemies of genuine success. It pressures people into competing in races they never chose. When looking at someone else's achievements, it is easy to forget that every person's life is built from different experiences, opportunities, and challenges. Success cannot be measured by matching someone else's timeline or accomplishments. It must be rooted in personal growth and personal purpose. Another essential idea in this chapter is that success is a process, not a finish line. Many people imagine success as a specific moment, a promotion, an award, a financial milestone. But reaching one moment does not guarantee lasting fulfillment. Success is found in the habits, attitudes, and choices that make up daily life. It is in the commitment to improve, to do meaningful work, to maintain strong relationships, and to live with integrity. Success also requires balance. A person may achieve great progress in one area while neglecting others. Work, relationships, health, spiritual growth, creativity, rest, these are all parts of a whole life. When one area dominates completely, the rest may weaken, eventually affecting overall well-being. Balance does not mean equal time for everything every day. It means giving attention to what matters over time so that life remains steady and fulfilling. Inner peace is one of the clearest signs of authentic success. It reflects a life guided by values rather than pressure. People who chase external markers of achievement often feel restless even when they succeed, because the success is not aligned with who they are. But when a person's goals reflect their true identity, accomplishments bring a sense of quiet satisfaction instead of temporary excitement. Another key element of success is contribution. Success is not measured only by what a person gains, but also by what they give. Helping others, creating value, and making a positive impact, these acts deepen fulfillment. They connect personal achievement with something larger, creating meaning beyond individual goals. As many people discover, success feels richer when it uplifts more than one person. Failure also plays an important role in defining success. It tests commitment, clarifies purpose, and strengthens resilience. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the path. Those who define success as perfection often crumble when difficulties arise. But those who understand that failure offers lessons see it as a step toward progress, not an endpoint. This mindset keeps the journey alive even when obstacles are heavy. Patience is another quality linked to success. Deep, meaningful progress often takes time. Skills must be developed, habits formed, relationships nurtured, and opportunities earned. Impatience pushes people into shortcuts, but shortcuts undermine growth. Patience supports consistency, and consistency builds lasting success. It is better to move steadily in the right direction than quickly in the wrong one. Self-respect anchors true success. When individuals make choices aligned with their values, they feel strong internally, regardless of external judgment. Self-respect grows from honesty, responsibility, and effort. It tells a person, "I am living the life I believe in," and no applause can replace that feeling. Likewise, no criticism can destroy it. Another important aspect is adaptability. Life changes, goals shift, circumstances evolve, and dreams transform as a person matures. Success should grow with these changes. Holding on to old ambitions that no longer inspire can trap a person in a version of themselves that no longer exists. Adaptability allows success to remain meaningful by evolving with the individual. This chapter also encourages the reader to celebrate progress. Success is not only about major accomplishments. It is also built from small victories, habits kept, challenges overcome, kindness offered, lessons learned. Recognizing these moments strengthens motivation and helps maintain a positive perspective. The journey becomes as rewarding as the destination. Ultimately, success must lead to a life one is proud to live. It is not measured by applause, competition, or comparison, but by alignment between values and actions. When a person wakes with purpose and rests with peace, when they contribute to others and grow themselves, when they can say they lived intentionally, they have succeeded. As this chapter closes, one truth stands firm. Success is deeply personal. No one else can define it. No one else can measure it. It is found in living authentically, growing continually, and shaping a life where both effort and meaning thrive. When success is defined from within, it becomes not a destination to reach, but a way of living that brings fulfillment every day. Final message: you can. Every idea woven through these chapters leads to one unshakable truth: you can. These two simple words carry more power than encouragement alone. They are an invitation, a challenge, and a responsibility. They hold within them the possibility of change, the strength to endure, and the courage to rise. As this book reaches its closing message, the intention is not to end the journey but to hand it over, to place these words into your life, your choices, and your future. You have learned that belief is the starting point of all achievement. It is the quiet spark that says something more is possible. Without belief, effort loses direction. With belief, even the smallest action has purpose. This message asks you to carry that belief with you, to let it influence the way you face challenges, and to trust that growth will meet you wherever you are willing to begin. Confidence, too, is a companion on this path. It does not demand certainty. It does not require perfection. Confidence simply asks you to try, to trust that you can learn, adapt, and improve. It asks you to speak to yourself with honesty rather than harshness, to replace self-doubt with effort, and to lean into your own capability even when fear tries to speak louder. Initiative gives belief and confidence their shape. It moves ideas into the real world. Whenever you choose action over hesitation, you strengthen your connection to possibility. The first step will rarely feel easy, but it is always the most important. With every small beginning, you prove to yourself that forward motion is within your control. Persistence ensures that the journey continues. Progress is uneven, and life will not always cooperate with your plans. But persistence, the gentle, steady refusal to quit, turns uncertain steps into a meaningful path. It carries you through the moments when results are invisible and motivation fades. Persistence whispers, "Keep going," even when doubt suggests otherwise. Work and discipline form the backbone of accomplishment. They make consistency possible. They remind you that daily effort transforms dreams into skills and intention into mastery. Discipline builds reliability within yourself, a trust that you will show up even when conditions are not ideal. When discipline becomes part of who you are, progress becomes part of your life. Your attitude shapes the lens through which you experience all of this. Your thoughts influence your energy, your resilience, and your willingness to grow. A constructive attitude does not deny difficulty. It simply refuses to surrender to it. By choosing thoughts that strengthen rather than weaken you, you give yourself the freedom to act with clarity and intention. Courage is the force that allows all other qualities to operate in moments of fear. It is not loud or dramatic. It is the quiet determination to move forward even when uncertainty surrounds you. Courage acknowledges fear without being ruled by it. Each time you choose courage, you expand what is possible in your life. Character anchors you. It ensures that your growth is steady and your choices reflect your values. Integrity gives your life structure. It builds trust, deepens relationships, and allows you to walk with a sense of dignity. When your actions match your values, you gain an internal strength that no hardship can easily shake. Service reminds you that your life is connected to others. Helping someone else strengthens your own purpose and widens your perspective. In lifting others, you lift yourself. Service turns personal growth into shared growth, and it brings meaning to your achievements that goes beyond personal satisfaction. Lifelong learning ensures that your journey never becomes stagnant. Curiosity keeps your mind alive. Reflection deepens understanding. Growth becomes less about chasing a destination and more about expanding who you are. With every new insight, every new skill, every new perspective, you become more capable of shaping your own path. Success, when defined on your own terms, becomes more than an achievement. It becomes a way of living. You now understand that true success is not a comparison, a ranking, or a moment of applause. It is the alignment between your values and your actions, between your goals and your effort, between the life you imagine and the life you build. And now, everything circles back to the message that has guided these chapters from the beginning. You can. You can begin again when life feels heavy. You can grow in areas you once felt weak. You can step forward even when afraid. You can shape your habits, your character, your direction. You can build a life that reflects your deepest values. You can contribute to others in ways that matter. You can uncover potential you have not yet imagined. Nothing written here promises ease, but everything written here promises possibility. You have within you the capacity to change, to build, to rise, and to endure. You have the ability to turn discipline into habit, effort into achievement, and intention into reality. You have the strength to shape your life not through sudden transformation, but through steady, committed Ralph. The closing words of this book are a beginning rather than an end. They are given to you not as a comfort, but as a call, gentle, steady, and empowering. You can. Carry these words with you. Repeat them in moments of uncertainty. Let them guide your decisions and strengthen your resolve. Let them remind you that your life is not limited by your fear, your past, or your doubt, but expanded by your courage, your effort, and your belief. You can. And now, it is time to prove it to yourself.